Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's ubnradio.com.
Thank you.
Another Friday.
Yes.
Good to be back.
Thank you to our listeners and viewers from around the world and around this wonderful country of ours. This is Ron Frieson, Focus with Ron Frieson, with my co-host at this point and regular contributor, Mr. Woody Wilson.
Hello.
Thank you for coming.
What's up? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Thanks to everyone who has been calling in and making this show such a success. And we don't take any of it for granted. And we really appreciate your calls and your questions. And one thing that's very important for me to emphasize is the fact that you don't have to agree with everything we say. As a matter of fact, I like it better that way.
That you
because,
don't.
because we don't know everything, and everything that comes our way is an opportunity to learn. I do have certain views on certain topics that I tend to be kind of a stone and rock solid on, but those things that are subjective, they are always open to interpretation.
And your phone calls.
And your phone calls. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you the phone number now. So in about 10 to 15 minutes, we'll open up the line so you can call. The phone number to reach us is area code 323-843-2826. Again, 323-843-2826. And if you can't get through the first time because we have busy lines, please try to call back because I love hearing from you.
Yes.
So what I usually do, and today is no different, in starting the show, I start with my thoughts. And today I'm going to begin with my thought in regards to why I don't think Marco Rubio should be a viable option for president.
And again with Marco Rubio. Huh?
This is not because I'm pro-Trump. It's not because I'm pro-anyone. It's just because I don't believe that Marco is ready for the prime time. Now, I've done public speaking in the past, and I deal with a lot of, in my day job, I deal with a lot of influential people, a lot of public policymakers. I used to work very closely with Governor Sam Brownback, the current governor of the state of Kansas, as well as former Governor Kathleen Sebelius, who went on to be President Obama's Health and Human Services Secretary. And I currently work with a lot of public leaders, along with private industry leaders as well in my day job. And I saw something in Rubio during that debate with Chris Christie that really concerned me. What I saw was a guy that under the bright lights, that he automatically defaults to his memorized lines, and that he's not thinking on his feet. If you remember when President Obama, before he became president even, we got used to his cadence. We got used to him speaking and pausing as he was speaking. You can see his wheels turning. You can see that he was thinking through what he was saying so that he could be sure to convey what he was.
The proper message.
His proper message. He was communicating it. And we appreciate that over the years, and especially after coming off a pretty inarticulate president in George W. Bush, we learned to appreciate President Obama's thoughtfulness. Whether or not you agree with him, at least you knew you didn't agree with him because you understood what he was saying.
Right.
You didn't disagree with him because there was any sort of confusion. You knew where he's coming from. With Marco Rubio, under that type of pressure, seeing him kind of melt underneath the lights of a debate wherein, for the most part, everyone in the audience still at some core level wants you to succeed because you guys all have the same sort of Republican view of the world. So you're preaching to the choir. They're just deciding which of the singers they want to listen to more than the other.
Right.
So you have all of this going for you. And he melted. And then you think about the
this
pressure.
Is with Christie.
This is when Christie was in the debate, not the debate last night, but the one before then, the one that's getting a lot of the attention, and rightfully so, because there's a lot that goes on with presidents. There's a lot that happens, and we've seen President Obama age before our eyes. We've seen world leaders that you have to meet with that somehow put you in a compromising position where you have to make decisions on your feet. We've seen when you have to get up and go and speak, at the United Nations. We've seen when you've had to take tough press conferences about topics that you really don't want to speak on because someone else messed up, but you're going to be blamed for it.
Right.
We see the rigorous schedule that's caused President Obama to go grayer than I am over the past 7 or 8 years.
Quickly.
We've seen all of these things happen, so it's a very stressful, very tenuous, very draining. It's a very emotionally draining job and intellectually draining job. And if you get all this coming at you and you freeze, that could be catastrophic. If you're holding the office of president, it can be catastrophic because that means that your handlers have a lot more power because they know that you're the type that will freeze. And so that means they're going to drill in you whatever they think that you need to be drilled with. And they have, for the most part, enough power to make or break your presidency. Also, if you say the wrong thing because you're under pressure, what you will see is that you will see what's called stage fright. Now picture being the leader of the free world having stage fright. It's not good. It's not good.
Nope.
So this is the reason, in Ron Frierson's very humble opinion, that Marco Rubio is not ready for the prime time. Now maybe another few bruises, another few years, maybe he can try again. But right now,
he's not ripe.
He's not ready for it. And that's just my opinion. And that's my thoughts. So what do you think about that, Woody?
Well, Marco Rubio is a candidate that seems he's a politician. He's the best politician that the Republican Party has right now. I don't really favor the crowd as a whole. Trump, though, I'm going to go back to yesterday's debate with Trump. Listen, I like the guy. He had me laughing. He's not a politician, obviously. He's straightforward, straight ahead, and some of the policies, some of the things he was talking about last night, for example, the corporate taxes, bringing corporations back to this country, and reducing the taxes, so it makes it a good incentive for them, and bringing jobs back to America. I like that idea. And he has no lobbyists, no special interest groups, so he's not really, courting anyone in particular, so he can say what he feels. And, I like those. I like those points that he...
And as we talk about that, before we get off point, I wanted to bring up something. I remember our caller last week from Atlanta, Donald from Atlanta. He said something about the corporate taxes and how many companies don't come here because of the tax rate.
Right.
I think that has a lot more to do with our trade policy than tax rate. And I think that's one of the points he was making, is because we have Mercedes dealerships in Alabama. We have BMW dealerships in the South, especially in the Southeast, because they're not as unionized. Where I come from in Michigan is a very heavily unionized area,
yes,
UAW. You don't get that in the South. They're right-to-work states, so unions don't have the same sort of sway over the automotive industry. Some of them may be union, but it's a little bit different environment, so they come down there. So if you have this, these different situations where a lot of these multinational companies or foreign companies come and put facilities here in the United States so they can service this market, why are they doing it? Especially from Europe, it's because they don't have the same favorable trade policy as Mexico and NAFTA came. So with NAFTA, what could happen then is that now American companies could go to, let's say, Mexico or Ecuador or Guatemala, whatever, manufacture there and ship back to the United States with no sort of tariff put on the products.
Right.
So now they can go down there and exploit the cheaper labor and sell it here with no sort of premium put on the fact that they are bringing it in from out.
And how much sense does that make?
It makes no sense.
Right.
But that also kind of negates the argument about the taxes. So it's not really about taxes, it's about cost of labor. See, because now if you think about it, the reason why Mercedes and those other guys, the reason why they put these manufacturing plants here is because when the product is built here, then obviously it can serve this market and it's not subject to any sort of tariff,
right?
As opposed to when it's brought in from offshore. So that's essentially what it comes down with. So that's when he was talking about the false narrative. He was saying the false narratives in regards to saying that our tax policy was so obstructive and so negative that, in the sense that it's keeping companies from wanting to come here. That's well, I mean, and I get that point.
You know, yeah, I understand that point. But you know, our tax rates are pretty high. I mean, look at Hollywood, for example. They've got to go to Vancouver and shoot movies. The state of California, rather. You know, so our tax code needs to be taken a look at. And then also, I liked what he wanted when he was talking about Obamacare and eliminating the state borders with that, and creating kind of a free market
insurance.
Yeah,
you know, I don't know the pros and cons of that. The pros and cons in regards to okay, I get the sense of
competitive market.
I get that part.
Yeah,
but what I also think that what happens, and I'm not saying I'm pro or con in regards to that.
I'm not pro Trump.
Yeah. I mean in regards to, I know you're not, but in regards to the insurance thing, I'm not sure. I have to do a lot more research on that. But if anything similar is what's happening within, let's say, the aviation industry, and I shouldn't say aviation, but air travel. There's been a massive consolidation, so now we only have like 3 or 4 major airlines because all the little ones get bought up.
Right.
And so now you have pretty much a one or 3 or 4 airlines running everything. It could be the same for insurance if we go ahead and just erase the lines. Yeah, there'll be competition, but there'll be competition to a certain point before the bigger fish start eating up the smaller fish. And before you know it, we get to a point we only have Blue Cross or Aetna or whoever, and now they're running all of the insurance racket nationwide. And so we don't have as much choice as we thought we had in the beginning.
Well, I don't think this is going to speed up that process. I mean, that's going to happen regardless. I mean, you know.
You don't think that would speed up I actually think that would speed up the process, because now you don't have to worry about that niche little, let's say you're in a smaller state like Delaware or Rhode Island,
right? And
they have an insurance carrier, and it's a smaller insurance carrier, but it's going pretty well for them. So that means that they don't have as many. So now, because there are no lines, now they can be put in a situation where they have to go to one of these other bigger insurance carriers, because their small insurance carrier that was protected within that state now got gobbled up by a big one, and so it changes the rules for everyone.
Yeah, because
and then in a way that would make the bigger insurance carriers even more powerful than they are now. So I'm not saying that that's exactly what will happen, but I can see how that, if you look at it, like, again, compared to the air travel industry, how we went from having all these different airlines to now it's being consolidated because it's been all these grand mergers, how that can easily happen if you broaden the marketplace in regards to insurance, and the bigger fish can now eat up the smaller fish, which is happening across every industry in America. Communications, you got Time Warner, you got
mobile phones.
So let's say that happens. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that happens. Now you'll have fewer insurance companies with way more power to influence our elected officials, because now they're behemoth.
Well, listen, I mean, we're fast forwarding 20 years. I mean, that may be the case, it may not be the case, but certainly I know it will drive down price because it will be more competitive. So ideally,
and that's what I'm saying though. In the short term, and you may be completely right.
Listen, there may be some parameters you can put in place to kind of, put at ease, the
like
takeover.
price, but like price fixing, or have it different. Well, what they do already is have different tiers of service you can provide.
Yeah.
All in all, when you have, and this is just economics, the economic part of it is that you got to take the good with the bad.
Right.
If the good is that you foster competition, then also the good
That's
is
good.
that, well, that is good.
Yeah.
But also, in that pure sense of the word, you're still going to deal with Darwinism, where survival of the fittest. So that means that the big fish will eat the little fish. And now if you have just big fish allowed, then those big fish have a lot more power in a limited space.
That sounds like Los Angeles.
Yeah. So so that's what I'm saying is that
Big
maybe
fish eat the smaller fish.
short term thinking, maybe it'll be good for us, but I'm not certain if it's long term. So I would have to see a lot of studies on that, or I would have to see wherein there would be, I hate to say it, but regulations on how it would happen, how it would work, I should say, if it was a 50-state strategy and there were no artificial lines in regards to how an insurance company can cross state lines. If there are certain regulations in place so that it wouldn't ultimately, whether or not it's 10 or 15 or 20 years, I mean, we all know that 15 years will be here in a minute.
In a second.
And so if that's when the SHIT is going to hit the fan in 15 years, then that's a problem, because 15 years would be,
Listen, I don't know enough about it to figure out if that's actually what's going to happen, but I'm sure through legislation they can kind of figure this out. And I mean, it's a complicated issue.
It is a complicated. But back to the debate, what we were talking about.
That was funny.
It was
My son
funny.
walked in the room.
Yeah.
When Donald Trump and Rubio were going back and forth, he said, "Dad, is this an SNL skit?"
It's
You thought it was
crazy.
Saturday Night Live.
It's crazy. And you think one of these guys wants to be the next president of the United States. And it's just, it was very entertaining. And it's, you're not going to beat Trump at his game, but it's.
He told the one guy, he said, "You were on my show, you're on my radio show talking about you're going to release your taxes." He said, "Yeah, the show no one listens to. Your ratings suck, by the way.
Yeah.
You know your ratings. It's true. Your ratings are down. You know that, right? Yeah, they are." He did his whole thing.
Yeah, that
was hilarious.
That was hilarious.
I fell on the
You know
floor.
what? How do you feel about the whole? Because it was Mitt Romney's father who was the first to introduce taxation and disclosing your personal taxes to the whole presidential campaign. That was not something that had always been something that candidates were expected to do until Mr.
How long has
Romney.
that been?
I want to say it's like in the 70s or something, in the 60s or 70s.
Yeah, is it a good idea? Is it going to change your mind about someone if they're...
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing because, for one, it's not going to tell you anything.
What is it going to tell you?
They're not going to be paying. They may end up paying taxes as president, but it's not going to affect policy decisions because the IRS is going to be the IRS, and it doesn't matter.
Right.
I don't see how that is as big of a motivating factor as experience or what you've done, your stance or policy measures. Whether or not Donald Trump 30 years ago, was behind on his taxes,
Or
does
filed
not.
bankruptcy, who cares?
Yeah, or filed bankruptcy in one of his businesses. That really doesn't matter because everyone knows it's those people that take the risks in many cases also reap the rewards, but there are also
They
times
fall
when
down
those
and get back
risks,
up.
those risks sometimes don't pan out the way they're supposed to, the way they're meant to, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's a big deal, but I'm gonna tell you one thing, that during that debate last night, poor Ben Carson
Was somebody insult
and
me, please?
John Kasich, they just, but Ben is not very.
He doesn't have the fire in his belly.
If he does have fire in his belly, it's like, I don't know, it's like just a little matchstick because he just not very. He puts you to sleep.
Yeah, he's boring.
He's too boring. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I don't know if he's taking Prozac or something.
Yeah, I like Kasich though.
I do like Kasich.
He seems like a nice, honest guy.
Yeah, he just doesn't seem presidential.
He doesn't. He seems
mean,
like a supporting role in some sense.
Yeah, he doesn't. I don't see anybody on the Republican side that actually seems presidential. Now, Trump does have the bravado.
Right.
He'll walk in like he owns the place. He acts like, but it's like I don't know. He has the bravado, but I don't think he has the temperament or just
the intelligence.
No, he's intelligent.
He's intelligent, but he's
a
not
different.
sharp. I mean, when you compare him to Obama, that's really a tough comparison.
It is a tough comparison.
Anyone to Obama is going to be a tough comparison.
Exactly.
But what's up with the Zoolander lips?
Who, Trump?
Trump.
I don't know, man. Trump he's a funny dude. He's
hilarious.
like, but he is exposing a lot about the a lot about the Republican Party that needs to be exposed.
And he's exposing this political.
And he's saying
BS.
everything. You notice how he was speaking about the lobbyists. He said some lobbyists out there in the in the crowd right now.
Right,
one
when
was
they were
waved at
clapping,
me.
yeah.
And then you notice that you can tell some people are so pro Rubio, like some of the decision makers on the quote unquote establishment, because they when Rubio said something, it was like one woman would be screaming.
Yeah.
It's not that funny. It wasn't that much of a zinger.
No, it wasn't.
It was like a hype man.
Yeah, no, he had his people, his people in the audience.
And it was so clear.
Half the audience was.
It was so
his
clear he
folks.
had his people in the audience.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy where this is going.
So onto the Democratic side, I saw an interview with Chris Matthews off Hardball and MSNBC and Bernie Sanders. Chris Matthews, I like him, but he can be irritating. He won't allow you to answer a question before he starts to ask you something else.
Yeah.
So he'll interrupt you and just
fire.
he'll keep on saying something, and you could be trying to formulate your response, and he'll come at you. What?
Right.
I can see how that would get on someone's nerves.
Absolutely.
And it seemed like it got on Bernie's nerves a little bit, but Bernie handled him.
Bernie's he's good like that.
Bernie handled him,
Yeah.
and Chris didn't like it.
Right.
Because you can tell the rest of the day he kept mentioning it whenever Chris was speaking. I spoke to Bernie today, and he got a little testy. He didn't get testy. He just hit you back with the way you try to hit everyone else.
Right.
He said he's a little testy. I was asking him, what has he passed? What have you passed? He's a senator, and senators don't really pass anything. They just vote for something,
Right.
but they don't really pass anything on their own.
Yeah.
And whether they sponsor a bill or something, that's one thing. And so whether or
Trying to catch
not,
him off guard.
yeah. So I actually think that Chris Matthews is in Hillary Clinton's
Camp. You think so?
I think so, because he didn't seem very objective, and I think between the two, I like what Bernie's saying, but between the two, my pragmatic side makes me a little more pro-Hillary.
Yeah.
Just the pragmatic side of it. But I like Bernie's passion, like what he's standing for. But I'm not a journalist either. I'm not supposed to be objective and things of that sort. And he, in this instance, Chris Matthews, came off as being, trying to stump Bernie, who he couldn't stump. Because I told you, this is Bernie's wheelhouse. This is what Bernie does.
Right.
And we just caught up to him. So you're not going to beat the dude that's been in here for 30 years.
Yeah, he hasn't changed.
He hasn't changed. He doesn't
beat of the same drum.
Yeah. And so, and I get the point of what he was saying too. What he was saying was that we need a political revolution. Well, how are you going to get it done? He said, no, you're not here. And he said, you're looking at things, Chris, you're looking at things how they are. I'm telling you that we need a political revolution. I'm telling you the way it's going to be if we have the massive turnout and we have young people and working class people come out to vote and give us the support that we need. This is what's possible.
Right.
So it's not possible today with the status quo with who we have in office, with Congress the way its makeup is now. But if people buy into this and you look at it from my candidacy being Bernie, from the top down, and you let this same sort of energy affect all of your decisions down the ticket, then we will have the type of critical mass, in office or the public support to get the things done that he wants to get done.
Yeah. The demographics of the voting public has changed dramatically.
It's still going to be a hell of a task.
Well, I mean, if they get as fired up as they did when Obama was running, everyone came out from every nook and cranny and voted.
True. Yeah.
And I think Latinos, this is a very important election for Latinos.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very important election for those who are taking advantage of Obamacare.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want that to go away, you better get out there and vote Democrat.
That's true.
It's an important election for those who in the middle class, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're focused on developing and building up the middle class.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a huge time.
Why do they hate Obamacare so much when it was actually Mitt Romney's plan?
Because he didn't because Obama introduced it.
I know. Huh?
The Democrats, I would say Obama first, Democrats second. So, they have you got to get out and vote, folks. You got to get out and vote.
You have to. It's even more important these days because we don't really have that much to choose from.
No.
We don't. I mean, on the Republican side, if any of those guys make it, it's going to be a different day. And I don't mean different in a good way. I was talking to a friend this morning. We were playing basketball, and he went to Princeton, and he played, I shouldn't say he played at Princeton, but he went to Princeton. He went to Princeton when Ted Cruz was there, and he knows Ted Cruz. Mm-hmm. He's like,
no one liked him then.
He said no one liked him. He told me a story. He said, I'm going to tell you, this is the kind of guy Ted Cruz is. He said, and this is a true story. He said the name of the dorm or the house, whatever. He said, we had an ongoing poker game in there, and Ted always wanted to play, but no one really liked him, this and the other. But he had a little money, so let Ted come and play the game after a while. He said, so Ted is playing with us, and he's down. He's to the point where he needs to pay up, and he just keeps playing. It just keeps playing. And he said, long story short, the game ended, people were leaving. He owed a lot, some guys money. I don't know how much money it was, but they're college students. Right. So he said, but next thing you know, he reported us for gambling. He reported the game.
So he didn't have to pay up.
So he wouldn't have to pay up. He said, that's Ted Cruz.
Wow.
And I looked at the person who said that. I said, exactly.
Yeah.
He looks like that dude.
He does look like that dude. That doesn't surprise me at all.
He's the personification of a attitude. Like if you had to typecast, like if you had to typecast a person that's going to be like the sneaky little villain, it's Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
He just looks like that guy.
Right.
Pushing me water.
No, he does. Well, you need some water, man. That's the second time you call.
That's okay, man. I got the bronchitis, man, trying to get up out of me for the last
Don't blow that
bit.
over here, please, man. I don't need to be sick. I got to tell you one thing.
You know how many people have been coming down?
A lot of people have been sick, yeah. I've been drinking my apple cider vinegar.
Jarvis said it's because of Porter Ranch. The methane gas leak.
Jarvis always got us compared.
And chemtrails.
Conspiracies.
Chemtrails.
Yeah. He's got it all down packed. I tell you what, though.
What's up?
No one better go to the movies and see Gods of Egypt this weekend.
Oh, we got to talk about that.
I will never speak to you again.
You know what? I was telling you before the show, John, I think his name is John Oliver, This Week with John Oliver. It's on HBO, comes on Sundays. And he is like a spinoff of The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. Mm-hmm. He's had a skit on this that made so much sense. And if you guys haven't seen it, you guys have to go on YouTube or something or look it up on HBO or something.
What show is it?
It's called This Week with John Oliver. He was saying how it's more than just, he said, Hollywood always, there's complaints about Hollywood not having, enough roles for black actors. And he was saying, yeah, that's the case. He said, but also there's roles that could have a diverse cast that they'll still cast a white guy for.
Yeah.
And they start going through all this litany of all these different roles.
Yeah.
It's like, it had Tom Cruise in The Last Samurai. It's like, really? Tom Cruise?
The Last
Samurai was Tom Cruise.
Right.
And he was talking about even going back to John Wayne.
John Wayne, all the Indians or white guys painted brown.
Exactly.
Come on, man.
And John Wayne even played an Asian once.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, Gods of Egypt.
There's one brown person in this movie.
That's crazy.
Gods of Egypt. Where's Egypt, folks? Jarvis, where's Egypt? Africa. And they got one brown person in the movie.
And the further you go back in Egypt, the darker they were.
Exactly.
So
Come on, give me a break, Hollywood. Get real.
It's crazy. And they had a movie with I think she's cute. What's her name?
Nia Long?
No, not. Oh yeah, of course Nia Long is cute. Happy birthday, Nia.
Happy birthday, Nia. Great party last night.
Yeah. What's her name? I gotta look up her name.
Stacey Dash.
No, she was in the movie with
Halle Berry.
Yeah, Stacey crazy.
Wow.
What's the girl name?
Crazy like that glue.
But anyway, she played a movie where she was part Asian. Straight up white girl. You got not one bit of Asian in her.
I don't know, man. Come on, guys. Really?
Probably don't even like sushi. And she played like half Asian. It's like, what? You couldn't get a Asian woman?
And why do you suppose that they do that? When I say they, why do you suppose Hollywood will create a movie, a film like Gods of Egypt, and not cast any brown people? They don't have to be African American. They could be,
You know what I hear? This is what I hear. I don't know
What
whether
do
or
you
not it's
hear?
true. I hear that they do it for the international markets. I heard that the international markets are very racist. Like in China, they don't like seeing black people on film. And so what they would do is that they will cast stuff according to what people outside of the U.S. want to see. Now, this is my counter to that.
Chinese only like to see themselves in film.
This is my counter to that. You are the influence makers. You are the trendsetters.
The trendsetters.
You are the taste makers, the trendsetters, the influencers. You put out what you put out, they will accept it.
Exactly. Look at Star Wars. They had that black guy.
I heard there was like they spoke about that on the John Oliver thing too. They were saying that there was like some people, it was Fox News of course, saying that there was some racist reaction to them having, this guy and such a prominent
I'm sure
role.
someone.
Yeah, but all those people, they don't really need the microphone. They don't really need to be paid attention to. If you got that, so those people that think like that, push them off to the side.
Yeah, those minority.
Not everybody needs to have the microphone. Not every ignorant thought needs to have attention paid to it. Like these stupid people that were saying that President Obama was born in Kenya. Like, whoa, okay. Everyone knows.
Trump was one of those people.
Yeah, but Trump is dumb. He's dumb. But Trump is
You
dumb.
said he was smart.
But he's smart and dumb. He's doing stuff with a purpose for his own different. He may have thought about running for president way back then and said, I got to start laying down the groundwork.
Right.
He's a businessman. I would never put it by him.
Yeah.
But this is the deal. I have very close friends of mine, and I've said this before on the show, that are federal agents and work for the federal government and have different security clearances.
Right.
They've come and interviewed me because we grew up together. Right. They've interviewed me asking about how this person was when you guys grew up.
Before they hire him.
Before they get a certain level of security clearance. Yeah. They've gone and spoken with teachers of them. They have all this stuff. Yeah. You don't think they'll do that for a person running for president?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't think that for a second they wouldn't go in and have all of this stuff lined up about his closest friends, who his confidants are, his past indiscretions, his past failures and successes, and they have people he grew up with, family members that they've interviewed, and have a FBI file on anybody that's able to become president or be a real decision maker within our government. Right. We all know that.
And the fact they haven't dug up any dirt on him that tells you what kind of guy he is.
But my point is this.
You're talking Obama, right?
I'm talking Obama. Yeah. My point is that if for whatever reason he was born in Kenya and ineligible to be president, that would have came out a long time ago, and he wouldn't have been allowed to run for president. Somebody would have came to him and said, listen, we have all this information, documentation on you. We've done our extensive background check and vetted you, and we know who your first grade teacher was. Right. And we spoke to her.
Exactly.
You can't run for president because you're not eligible. Right. And we would have heard nothing about it. He would have dropped out, this, that, and the other.
And everybody knows it.
And everybody knows it. Yeah. And this is why I say that people like Mitch McConnell and the Republican majority, they are partly to blame for the racial divide and for President Obama having to deal with that stuff like the birther controversy and stuff like that, because they know what even they had to go through in regards to obtaining their security clearance for the positions they hold. Right. So the president wouldn't be any less. So they know that, okay, he obviously is American. Right. He's obvious. So why are we letting this even go on?
Because they were just trying to find anything. They were grasping at straws.
Yeah, but you can't blame, like I always say.
Think of how many times they tried to set him up.
Yeah, I know.
They tried to set him up.
So yeah, no doubt. Oh, no doubt. And he has to be as clean, probably the cleanest because if there was anything on him, trust me,
they would have found it.
They would have found it.
And they would have taunted it. Certainly trying to set him up.
They would have been like, I told you so, without a doubt.
Yeah.
They still looking.
Well, I think the closest they got was when his pastor was like, the roosters came home to roost, or the chickens came home to roost back then. That was,
when Reverend
Rice
Rice
tried
said
to kill him
stuff.
with that. Yeah,
but remember, like I said before, while they were killing him with his pastor, at the same time they're saying he's a Muslim.
Right.
Whoa.
They were like Barack Hussein Obama.
Yeah, but
Barack Hussein
Obama. Think about the two thoughts in your head. They're mad at him about his pastor at this church that's preaching black liberation at this Christian church.
Right.
But he's a Muslim.
Right.
And
but people don't think for themselves.
They don't think.
It
didn't make any sense
I
whatsoever.
was watching Fox News, and they were discussing Obama and they were saying that he is not a supporter of Israel, that he supports Syria instead of Israel. Iran, I'm sorry. He's a supporter of Iran over Israel now. And I'm thinking to myself, like, who listens to this rhetoric? Like, who believes
Some
this?
people do. Some people actually listen
and
to
they can just say anything they want to say.
There was a New Yorker article that came out maybe four or 5 years ago, and it says why Barack Obama was the best president that Israel could have hoped for. And it's a lot of stuff that he's done. Now, just because you don't get along with Bibi Netanyahu, because him and Bibi, I'm not a big fan of Bibi Netanyahu.
I'm not
Bibi
either.
Netanyahu is the equivalent.
He's a bully.
He's the equivalent of like what a Dick Cheney was.
Yeah.
Now, do I accept Dick Cheney as my vice president? Sadly, yes. He was my legitimate vice president. I didn't agree with anything he did politically, but he was my vice president. Those people that disagree with President Obama for whatever reason, they want to somehow delegitimize him, and it's contrary to who we are, and it's actually it kind of disintegrates our fabric of who we are as a culture when you try to tear down the leader of your country like that.
Yeah.
And also,
but you know what? It's a reflection on the people who really run this country.
yeah,
And, you know, unfortunately, even though that, times are changing, the overwhelming majority, one of the great things about Obama being elected was I had faith in the country and that we're now more educated than we ever been before, because with ignorance is a lack of education, right, and a lack of exposure. So it proved to me that America has now finally surpassed kind of that line of ignorance. And, but there's still a lot of folks out there that still fall in that category where they just.
You know what's a good point on that?
What's up?
Remember what I said, that like certain news segments, let's just say Fox News, we just put them out there, and Breitbart and Drudge Report and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They make you think that this racist element is bigger than what it is. Like
It's
President
not.
Obama, exactly. You know what the
not.
perfect example of that is how President Obama blew Mitt Romney out of the water when they during the 2000
Debate.
Not the debate, but the election.
Oh, yeah.
When he was voted into his second term in office, it was by a landslide. By a landslide.
And they were shocked and amazed.
Because they've been fed this garbage by
these polls, this poll.
But the poll, you always got to consider the source. They are getting polls that are from right-leaning groups that were probably only going to some parts of rural Mississippi.
It was telling them what they wanted to hear.
Going to tell them what they want to hear, going to, if you have a Fox News poll and you are so polarized as a viewer or as a network, so that the only people that watch your station anyway are, very, staunch Republicans, then, of course, from that sample size, the people that are going to call in are staunch Republicans because they're the only ones that are listening to your show.
Yeah, you need to listen to the Black Panther poll.
Black Panther, crazy one. You crazy.
You know what I'm saying? If you want to know what's going on out there, the Jewish poll or the whatever Chinese poll.
Yeah, I don't put a whole lot of credence in some of that stuff.
Yeah, I don't think they mix the batch. I don't know who's getting polled, but they need to figure that out. But don't let them figure it out. Let them think what they want to think.
But they do what they it's all about money. I mean, you got all these debates. They're in it for the entertainment factor. The media is not much better at all.
No, they're not.
You know what I like? I like Vice News. Have you seen Vice News?
No, Vice News. What channel? That's cable channel?
It's like, I think they have a website and they have specials on HBO, but that's like real journalism. And then I like Fareed Zakaria.
Yeah, I like Fareed.
Yeah, I like Fareed Zakaria a lot because he seems to be, fact-driven.
Right.
More so than, he has his opinions, but you can tell his opinions are based on logic and fact, not some sort of ideology, because when I look at what Marco Rubio was saying, what did he say about immigration, how he keeps going back and forth? You could look at him and tell he's trying to toe a line, because in his heart he wants that immigration because he's Latino himself. Yeah. He's Latino himself.
Yeah.
And I know that all Latinos are not one homogenous group, or just the same way that African Americans are, but there are certain cultural truths. You can always find one outlier. I can always find one stupid black person and be like, you know what, Rodney King should have slowed down. He was driving kind of fast.
He kept trying to get up. I
don't know why he kept trying to get. So you will always find that one.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was gonna say something. I ain't gonna say it.
Nah.
But
say it,
thing,
man.
yeah.
Say
no,
it.
I ain't gonna say it. I ain't gonna put nobody out there like that. I ain't gonna put nobody out there like that. But you can always find one of them.
Right.
I ain't gonna say it.
Man, I want to hear it. I want to hear it, man.
So, but there are certain cultural norms. There are cultural things that you have in common, and so as a Latino, because you are affected, that the immigration policy needs to be reformed.
See, this doesn't. In this, the fact that the man is a Cuban immigrant, and that he can stand on a stage a world stage and say to the world, "I want to correct the immigration policy and send people home, disrupt families," and he's a product of. I mean,
His parents came, but in the 50s, but he was born here.
Right.
But the point is,
the point is, they were illegal immigrants.
Exactly.
He was born here. Now he's a U.S. citizen. Imagine his parents being
exactly his lack of empathy, his lack of empathy and understanding.
And he has gone through that
process.
Gone through it.
Exactly. You can always find
what kind of man is that?
Exactly.
And you're going to vote for him?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Him and Ted Cruz just looks sleazy. He looked like he ready to turn into a lizard at any point.
He'll drop a dime on you in a second.
You can just look at him and tell a snitch. You know what I'm saying? He a straight up snitch. He looks like the type that listen. They're gambling.
It didn't come from me.
At room 396, they're gambling over there.
They're trying to take money from me.
Hey, I was going to ask you something real quick about the Apple versus the federal government.
Oh, that's an interesting one, isn't it?
As you know, I've been the victim of spyware and hacks and all that.
Yes, you have. Yeah. Yes, you have. And I had to warn you about that.
It looks like we have a call coming through. I was just about to go into
We're
that.
Get deep into
okay,
that
caller, man, have your name and the city you're calling from.
Yeah. Hi, Ron. I wanted to discuss a little bit about the political situation going on, especially with Trump, and the fact that they're really playing to the crowds. Mm-hmm. It's not a lot of high-level debate because you have to attract the crowds. You have to attract the voters.
Right.
And this is what the whole political situation in this country has come to because it's all televised. It's not a one-on-one thing. You have to appeal to a low common denominator, and Trump is very adept doing this.
Yes,
now, unfortunately, out of the Republican candidates, I personally am voting for Hillary because I can't vote for Trump. I can't vote for somebody who's willing to put up a wall between Mexico and the United States and have Mexico pay for it.
Right.
That's just pure ego. But of the Republican candidates, Trump is the most viable.
Of the Republican candidates, Trump.
Of the Republican candidates, I'm not going to vote for Ted Cruz if I'm in the Republican primary.
Right.
I don't think that Marco Rubio is anything great or anything to speak of. He seems to be a party neophyte. He seems to be going along, as you said earlier, towing a line.
That's a great description, a party neophyte. That's a great
And
description.
I just, of all three, the person I think that might actually accomplish something in office is Trump. He points out the fact that insurance companies aren't competing against one another, that there's an old boys club that prevents competition that he wants to get rid of. There are things that he says that I actually applaud. Unfortunately, he's such an egomaniac. I feel that he might lead us into a needless war that will drain America's resources, kill many innocent people because of his ego.
I agree with you 100%.
That's the reason that I can't vote for Trump.
That's so true. You hit you really hit
hammer on the head.
Oh, yes, you did, big time. Now you didn't give your name and the city you're calling from.
Oh, Ronnie, this is Rich.
Rich Barecki.
Indeed.
I should have known. I should have known. Once I heard that logic come through the mic, I said this has to be a smart guy, and yes, it is. Rich Barecki. Rich Barecki, you guys, is a close friend of mine. He also is one of the best writers that you guys will ever read. You need to read his stuff sometime. And he travels the world. I think he actually is a CIA operative, but maybe not because you are.
Well, you know that they interviewed you about that, about our childhood upbringing and all.
Yeah.
And I wasn't real pleased with the answers you gave. I barely got in.
Yeah,
don't tell him. You might have to
don't
kill
tell
him.
him exactly. I want to show up next week.
Tell me about the stuff he writes. What's it called? What's the stuff called? What's a book?
Well, he writes. Hey, Rich, why don't you tell him about the stuff that you write?
Well, I write travel stuff on richtrek.com. I just got back from Peru 10 days ago. I've been to 60 countries, and I just go on adventure after adventure, and I try to understand the world from different perspectives.
Nice.
And the one thing that I could say that the one thing I've gathered about traveling all about around the world is, we vilify so many people in the Middle East. We vilify people in Central America that are coming into the United States. And all these people really want, in general, is just a better life for themselves and their families.
That's
Exactly.
And it's so simple.
That's it.
That's all anybody wants is the opportunity. And that's what's so great about America is that we offer that opportunity. That when you're born in this country, you are, no matter what race you are, no matter what socioeconomic level you're born into, you are born with a greater opportunity than anywhere else in the world. And I'm just so thankful to be an American, to have been raised in this country with the opportunities being offered, having traveled to all these places and seeing the much lower level of opportunity that exists there.
Rich,
Thanks, Rich.
you are amazing. Thank you
Rich.
so much for your call.
Yeah.
Thank you for your insightful words. And go back to regime change all over around the planet that you're doing.
Now, I'm not allowed to discuss that stuff, so
All right.
I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, thanks
Drink
a
a
lot,
little
Rich.
Hennessy, too. Relax.
Take care.
Hey, Rich is telling the truth though. He's intense, but I'm telling you, Rich is.
It was on point.
He usually is.
He was on
Hey,
point.
I was going to say about before we get to the Apple versus the federal government, we got another session of Word, right?
Yes, we sure do.
Let's do it.
Should I explain to everybody what we do here?
Yeah, explain to it.
Okay, so Ron claims to be quite the wordsmith. So what I do each
Claims,
week
it's documented, man.
is test him and give him a few words to. I'll give him the word and
He put his
the
okay.
spelling, and he will
Put on the Sarah Palin.
give me the definition of that word. Okay, these don't
what's
quite fit. I can't.
Sometimes
fit
I gotta
Okay, you ready?
write stuff down. Okay.
Are we ready, Jarvis? All right. Prosaic. Prosaic.
Isn't that like dull or boring? Dull or
No.
It's not.
Is that it?
Maybe I'm thinking of Prozac.
Maybe so. Thank you very
What does
much.
it mean?
It means postpone doing what one should be doing. Yeah.
That's procrastinate.
I guess it could be that too, but that's not what this is today. Okay, next
Hey,
word.
we gotta look.
Perfidious.
Hey, callers or
Perfidious.
viewers.
Yes.
What'd you say?
Perfidious.
PPR.
FIDIOUS.
I think we had that before. That's easy. That's Ted Cruz. Just sneaky. Just kind of untrustworthy.
Tending to betray.
There you go. I'm right on that.
Ted Cruz is perfidious.
Yeah,
Word to your mother. Okay.
that's right.
Impetuous.
Oh yeah, I know impetuous because impetuous is
I don't
like
have to spell that, right?
impetuous. Yeah, no, you don't have to spell impetuous. Impetuous is somebody that's like hot, quick-tempered, hot-headed. They'll do something without thinking about it first.
Right. Characterized by undue haste.
There you go.
Word to your mother.
Word to your mother.
Word to your mother.
Amalgamate.
Amalgamate. That's important. I'll tell you why it's important.
Why is that important?
Because amalgamate is like when you get a lot of stuff and you just put it all together. Now, when we think about that amalgamate,
That is correct.
Yeah, but let me explain that
Combine
real
or
quick
mix.
so that I really understand.
Break it
that
down.
word.
Break it down. Words.
Amalgamate is when you get stuff from all over and you put it all together. So sometimes if you have, like for us in business, if you have one PowerPoint slide and you have like 6 of them, you put them all together, you amalgamate them. So you hear it like that. But another thing you want to hear about amalgamate in regards to our food, if you're eating chicken nuggets, that's not all in one nugget. That's not all from one chicken. That could be coming from 50 or 60 different chickens, and not all chicken breasts could be anything. Same thing with the hamburger that you eat. If you get ground beef from the grocery store, that's not coming from one cow. That could be an amalgamate where it has different
hooves, nose
from all different cows, not from the same. Even if you had the hooves and nose in it, if it's from the same cow, that's you can still claim certain things. But when you get it from different cows and different parts from different cows, that's an amalgamate. So and
that's what ground beef is. That's why you stopped eating red meat.
I hadn't eaten
processing plant. You told me about
exactly. I hadn't eaten red meat or pork since 2000. So
I love me a burger every now and then.
I know you do. Okay, what is that? It
superfluous. superfluous.
Superfluous. That's like overdoing it, right?
More than it is needed.
Word to your mother.
There you go.
All right, 5 out of 5.
Once again, I'd like to thank my parents. I'd like to thank the Lord. I'd like to thank the Academy.
Nope, the Academy would not give you a gift. Don't forget Javago.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Woody. That's my boy.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I still don't have a watch yet.
We have to talk. Well, I'm going to fix that for you. I'm going to talk to the company.
I wish you would, man, because I got this deal I need to go to. I need a nice Javago.
I'm going to have to hook you up. And you got to say the Javago for when I'm doing it.
Yes.
Okay. Javago watches. My primary sponsor. There you go. I don't know if you can see it. Go in on it. Javago watches. All right. Luxury. They are expensive timepieces. You guys need to go online to www.javagowatches.com, and I think the name and the URL web address for their site is given at the bottom of your screen. Javago. Check it out. Go look at their different styles. They have men's. Excuse me. They have men's and women's fashions. Go check it out. These are pretty timely.
Timepieces that are timely.
No, I meant they are expensive timepieces.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And expensive timepieces, luxury brand. Javago. You got to check it out. Go to the website, see the style you want, then go to Amazon and look at that same style, and you can get at a discount.
There you go.
See, I'm always looking out for us regular people. Okay. And again, if you guys, we only have a few minutes left, so I can't take any more of your calls. Sorry, guys.
And we haven't talked about Apple yet.
Yeah, so let's hurry up and get on Apple right now. Let's talk about that. So do you think that Apple is right or the federal government's right?
Well, I wish that Apple could just take the phone, go to their office, open it up, print out what's on it, and give it to them, right? But I guess in creating this software that you leave yourself open to backdoor entries, which will kind of eliminate the security that you have on your iPhone. You have an iPhone, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, how as an iPhone user, how do you feel about that? Do you...
I think it's deeper than just the iPhone. I think it's the fact that if they wanted to just see, what I understand is that Apple, they would have to create a new software in order to break the encryption device.
Right.
They put on an encryption device that they did not want to make a key to in order to keep people out and to ensure people's privacy. So now the federal government wants Apple to create this software and give it to them so they can break into the one phone.
That is correct.
But
to spend their resources to create the software.
Yeah.
Google has also put in a letter.
Now, once they give them that software to do that, don't think for a second
that the
federal government won't break that software down and learn how it was done. And now they have
be all up in your business.
All in your business. Yes. And that's the worst feeling in the
All
world.
the pornos you watching, your wife don't know you watching.
All that stuff you watching, all that porno you be watching.
No, you.
Yeah, no, I don't need to. I could live it. No, I'm playing with you. No, no, but all that stuff they're watching. Or anything sensitive, anything your photo, and it's not even that you got to be doing something.
No,
it's
just your private information.
Your private information, and you don't have to be doing anything nefarious or anything like that. So in that sense, if with all the other different avenues they have to collect data on people, metadata, looking at your website searches and all that kind of stuff, you can do already through the freedom through the Patriot Act and all that type of stuff. They ought to be able to find out whatever they want to find out.
So you think Apple should give in and do what they're asking, or do you think that we should take it to the Supreme Court?
The most that should happen is this, is that if Apple were to develop that software, then Apple gets that one particular phone from the federal government and say, we're going to crack this one phone for you and give you a phone that's uncracked. Just
Right.
give us the phone,
That's
let us
what I think
uncrack
they
it
should
and give it to you.
Give it to you.
But we're not going to give you a software.
Better yet,
so
print
you can
out
do
the
it.
information.
So that means
and
that
just hand it
every
over.
time you want something cracked, you will have to bring it to us and let it be a one-off situation where we look at this case by case.
Right.
I think we're out of time. We're close to being out of time. Everyone, thank you again. And thank you for the phone calls and some of the Emma Stone. Remember I said the
Stone?
white girl from earlier that had half Asian? It was Emma Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
anyway, it just came
Yeah.
to me. Thank you for calling us. Thank you for allowing us to be part of your weekend,
Yes.
starting your weekend with me and Woody. Again, focus with Ron Frieson. We'll see you next week. All the best to you. Peace.
Peace out. Peace and love. Have a great weekend.